Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Lead Series. I'm your co-host for the day, Thomas Ayuaki, and I'm joined by
Lucy Buluma.
And it's a pleasure to have you join us on this episode today. Now, what we are trying to do here is unpack the importance of investing to prevent violence against women and girls. And the reason why this is very important to us is because we are in the 16 days for activism against gender-based violence. And as an ICT for Development organization, we spend a lot of time empowering women and girls with digital skills as tools for sustainable socioeconomic capabilities. And so as we move forward, our hope is that we can be able to have a productive discussion around how we can be able to scale this and many other skilling opportunities for women and girls who come from marginalized and disadvantaged backgrounds. And joining us today to have this discussion is an alumni of the VHA Youth Employability program and also a very successful young lady within the space of tourism. So kindly, if you can introduce yourself, and then we can move into the other aspects of the interview.
Thank you so much. My name is Victoria Aduet, and thank you for inviting me to the Lead Series. Thank you.
Okay. So again, for us, it's also to thank you for creating time. I know it's a little bit tricky traveling from Kisumu to here in such a short period of time. And again, as I've shared earlier in the podcast, I think the idea is to just have a discussion around the importance of investing to prevent violence against women and girls. And having been somebody who comes from Kisumu and somebody who basically participated in a program that was specifically targeting that as a main objective, I think you are well suited to have this discussion with us. But before we go any further, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it you do? What does it entail? And basically, how do you find enjoyment and engaging on the day-to-day activities that requires?
Thank you. Well, as I've stated, my name is Victoria Aduet. I am a beneficiary of the VHA Employability program, having undergone a training through the ACWIT. The program was known as VHA, and it empowered me on digital skills. Currently, I work with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry as a member of the Tourism and Hospitality Committee. Well, you've asked me what I like about my new position. There's a lot of diversity when it comes to the position I hold, because it entails a lot of, I get to interact with people from different cultures. So that, to me, in itself is a way of promoting diversity. Yes, thank you.
So is that the biggest part of what you enjoy on a day-to-day basis, just being able to talk to different people from different sorts of cultures?
Yes, if you look at it from a wider perspective, it is something that you learn on a daily basis, because today you'll interact with somebody from the south, tomorrow you'll interact with somebody out of the country. So the diversity in terms of culture, the diversity in terms of how people conduct their day-to-day activities, to me that is that is the ice in the cake.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you're in that position that you are in now. Any sort of aspirations to grow within or even outside that space moving forward?
Definitely there are aspirations to grow within this space. Having been employed in different industries within the country, I'd say that for this particular one, I have a lot of interest in it because I see the potential of it growing, and I would like to scale the height so that I be in a position to maybe devise ways of improving the industry, as well as engaging the digital skills to improve the industry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know we were having a discussion outside the studio about the challenges of tourism.
Yes.
So not to put you on the spot, but what are some of the ideas you have around maybe what we can be able to do better as a country? Because you told me something that was a bit concerning. I know, Lucy, you are not there. And basically what you were stating was that Tanzania is slightly ahead of us in terms of tourism. So just based on where you sit and the experience you've gained, what are some of the things in a nutshell we can be able to do?
Thank you. If you look at 2 weeks ago, we had a tourism expo within the country. And one of the things that stood out was the fact that we need to sell Kenya as a block. We should not specifically sell Kenya as Kenya. We should sell Kenya as East Africa, whereby you find a tourist would want to come this direction, but would be interested in something that is in Tanzania, something different that is in Burundi, you know. So we were talking in that space whereby we need to sell this region as a block rather than as a specific tourist destination.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. How successful are they? Did you have guys from Tanzania?
We had
Uganda,
guys. We had guys from all over. We had people from South Africa, from Tanzania, from Burundi, from Uganda, from Rwanda, and it is something that is still on the table, but they are actually considering it because when we look at the Western side, that is what they do. You find that when you're invited as a tourist, you get diversity. You make use of your stay there by visiting several places. So we are trying to do that so that we can make Kenya more. Kenya would stand to gain as well as the whole region.
Yeah. So you seem very
that's
passionate.
Interesting.
Yeah, you seem very passionate about your job.
It is. It's something that you do what you like. We wake up on a daily, going to work, and you actually enjoy what you do because it also entails a lot of traveling.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So if I can take you back a few years, because I know it's been a while since you engaged with us in an official capacity. You participated in the VHA Youth Employability program. I think this was in
2015.
2015,
Yes.
2016, yeah.
Oh, okay. So what are some of the fond memories you have about the program, and how did it go on to shape your outlook on the career that you're pursuing today?
Well, there are a couple, but now that we are in the period of activism against gender-based violence, let me tell you something that stood out for me. Now, in my first class, I think it was the first or the second class, our trainer was a lady. So when she came to class, there was this computer on top of the table. Remember, by then, I had not interacted with computers as much, but definitely I had seen them.
Yeah.
So the computer was there. Then she gave us an outline of what we would be doing in that class. And that entailed assembling the computer. And in my mind, I was like, wait, are we bringing a man in to do this? Or are you the one going to do this?
Yeah.
And as I was having this conversation within my mind, I see her remove this device. I don't know, it's called a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And she started to unmask the computer.
Yes, disassembling.
Disassembling the computer. And she did it step by step. And in my mind, I think that class, I was more of like, is it really her doing this? Because you see, we have this preformed opinion of such things, it's men who do them. And for that, I think that was the capturing point for me. I was like, if this is one of the first classes that I'm attending, and this is a lady just like myself doing this, how much more will I learn from this program? And that's the moment that the program captivated me. And I think throughout the program, my interest was in learning more and more.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. Maybe
that's...
just to Victoria, now that that was your most captivating moment, and then it developed or grew, your interest grew. So is there any way that you are maybe just applying the skills you got, or the enthusiasm that was there, is it still there, or having walked into maybe a different, because there is this perspective where people think for people who learned computer or people who are doing different courses away from IT, there is no way the skills they got in translate to what they are doing currently.
Thank you so much, Lucy, for your question. Let me answer that by starting by stating that a few weeks back, there was a conversation we were having concerning, should you be comfortable with what you already know and maximize on it, or should you strive to learn more? And from the discussion, we got that the world is changing. I may be comfortable with what you taught me back then, but you see, things have changed over time. So back to your question, a lot has happened. I can say even my career path, it is what I learned during the VHA program that has shaped the decisions I make in life, because IT is everywhere. Digital skills are applied literally everywhere. And you see, by virtue of having done a separate course in campus, together with the skills I got to learn at VHA, I went out into the job market with a lot of confidence, because there was a +1 to my CV, which
Yeah,
was the
definitely.
digital skills.
Sure.
And I have used what I have learned over time to perform better than my peers, because you find I apply what I taught maybe in terms of sourcing for information,
definitely.
getting feedback from people, and it has actually put a lot of flesh in my career path.
So I'm picturing you troubleshooting technological issues in the office. Is that something you get to do from time to time?
I do, because I look at a scenario, back to my first instance where I saw her assembling the computer. It changed my whole perspective. And I'm this person whom, if I see something that I can actually correct based on the digital skills I learned, I do not wait to call a technician. I would actually apply what I was taught.
Yeah, that's nice to hear, and I think for us that's always the that's always the goal, because I think I've participated in so many different panelists where we are usually asked, what if I don't want to pursue a career in IT? Is this still relevant? But it is, because as I'm sure you are aware, even within your industry, I'm sure you're already having discussions around AI and how you can be able to use that to kind of synthesize information around tourism.
Thomas, this is something people cannot run from. It touches on literally everything that we get to interact with. Yes.
Yeah, integration is real.
Yeah.
So to say.
Yeah. So I think that's fine. So going into the next question, you've been working for how long now?
In the employment industry?
Yeah, in the employment space.
I finished campus in 2018, and I was first employed in 2020.
2020?
Yes.
So you are going in on 5 years now?
We're in 2023, so that is like...
Oh, no, you said 2020.
3 years.
3 years,
Three years now.
So you're going into 3 years now. Okay. So just based on the experience that you've had in all of these different positions that you've been in, do you believe enough is being done to encourage women and girls everywhere to pursue careers, not the digital skills space alone, just in general? Do you think enough is being done? And if not, what needs to change to be able to activate a space of diversity and inclusivity moving forward?
Thank you for your question. I'd start by saying something is being done, yes, but not enough. Not enough in terms of, you see, we talk a lot about inclusivity and diversity, but we do not look at what it entails.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereby diversity means, fine, you're supposed to employ both women and men, but do we look at what capacity do we employ them? Because you find, yes, we are employing these young ladies so that we can say, fine, women are being employed out here, but in what capacity? And that's where the inclusivity comes in, because we are supposed to look also at the kind of employment we are providing to these young girls. So I would really appreciate if we would move from the diversity part of it to the inclusivity part of it, whereby we have more women in the managerial positions out here.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
In short, what you're saying, the ground needs to be levelized.
Yes.
So it's not just about employment, but what position?
What position? We need more women in the boardrooms. Not that when you go to an organization, a good percentage of the T girls, in fact, the term is T girls, not even T men and all,
T girls
are women. But now when you get to the actual boardroom, even if the term boardroom, you find men in suits.
That's true.
Where the decisions are made, actually. And just maybe to back on what Victoria is saying, these decisions, most of them are made in the boardroom, but not outside there. So if we empower more women and include what she's talking about, something to do with inclusivity, I think them being even part of decision-making platforms, it can really try to levelize that ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how to do this is split this into two main areas. So within the space of tourism, are you seeing that slowly beginning to take shape? And Lucy, for you, within the tech sector, are you also seeing some progress on that? And if not, then how do we How do we change this? Because I think for me, what I'm interested in learning from you two wonderful ladies today is specifically what can we do? And, being a man, we should take some level of responsibility in ensuring that we open those doors and have people come in and also participate in some of these key decision-making processes. So within the space of tourism, are you seeing that move towards a positive direction, or do you still feel as if it's a bit behind?
That's a good question. In the tourism sector, I would say we are making steps. There are baby steps at the moment, but we should increase our pace if we want to get there, because still, if you look at these positions, the diversity is there, but the inclusivity is missing. But on the positive end, if you look at now, like the expo that I'm talking about, we had a panel, and the panelists, we had women who have actually made it in the tourism sector speaking during this event. So such things get to encourage young women out there. Such things provide a platform whereby you're able to get somebody in that field to look up to. So if we went that direction, and if we had more of such programs, you see, this program has done a lot. If you leave aside the digital skills part, as a person, you see, it provides that you believe in yourself because you are working from a knowing point of view. So if we even had more of such forums whereby you get to empower women, you get to empower young girls, by the time you're releasing them out there in the society, they would then go out with that mentality of, I can actually do it, I can actually achieve this, and that all these go hand in hand. In turn, it would reduce cases of GBV from my point of view, and it would also make somebody to believe in themselves, because you see, gender-based violence is not only the physical part. There's also
cuts across.
There's also that aspect of emotional damage that people do. Allow me to give you an example. I was at some discussion with people, and I did not know all these people were married. We were just having a chit-chat, tete-a-tete. And my opinion was not going hand in hand with one of the discussion guys. And when he tried to move me to his side of the discussion, I was stern in my decisions. And this man got annoyed, and he told me, what is a manless woman telling us? She actually called me a manless woman. And I was like, is it a crime?
Yeah.
And I was does it young, make you
does it make you a lesser being or something?
That is it. When we talk about gender-based violence. And by then I did not know about gender-based violence being even the emotional part. So I later on sat down and I was like, why would you disseminate me or discriminate me because I am not yet
basically.
Exactly. So gender-based violence cuts across, but there is something that having the knowledge, also going through such programs, does to somebody, and it makes you to actually believe in yourself.
And I think that story is that's unfortunate, because I'll be very honest. In this decade, to have such a statement come out, I think it's a bit weird, and it's an open contradiction of what's happening. Because even for me, one thing that I'm usually very proud of saying, even when I go out there and at work, is that actually my first immediate supervisor was Lucy Buluma.
Okay.
She was the first one. When I came in, was it in 2011, 2012? I was actually put under her wing for around, I think a month.
A month
or so. And I don't think I've received a higher level of mentorship than that particular period, because again, you had somebody who cared a lot about women empowerment. You had somebody who had a clear understanding on the technical aspect in terms of, this is how we can be able to execute a program and have it be impactful. And she understood what the internship role will be within that space. So it's a bit weird to still have those statements coming out. But I'm hoping it wasn't within your area of work. You say that this was just a discussion.
This was just
outside.
a discussion among friends, and this is somebody who holds a very high rank in the society.
So you can imagine.
Okay.
And then Thomas, maybe to point to what you just asked. So that was Victoria now within her tourism. So what I will say in the side of ICT, of IT or technology, as we want to perceive it, Thomas, there are efforts. I can say there are efforts. The government talking about the digital scaling that is inclusive, that is happening nationwide, but there's still much to be done. There are few organizations who will do what ACWIC does, the deliberate. You see that deliberate effort of targeting young women and youth and giving women a 70%. So most of the programs that are run at ACWIC, they'll either be women, young women, and not to say that there is a competition or something, but again, because of that, the few challenges that we keep on mentioning here and there, the ground is not levelized as per se. So that deliberate effort of bringing young women, giving it 70%, then men 30%, there are very few organizations that will do that. And you see, if it's not when it's not brought to pace at the skilling level, meaning the market, there is a deficit, right? So if we don't bring more women into tech at the skilling level, at the education level, and it cuts across from the skilling, health education, and all that. Remember, there is integration right now happening, IT, into the different fields that people do. So if we don't deliberately target it here at the scaling level, it's going to miss at the market industry. That's why we are finding many young women, they know, I was brought up, I'm a woman. I'm supposed to be in the kitchen, right? That is why we are having the tea girls that Victoria is talking about and all that.
Tea girls being chai people.
Yes, chai people. Like
to make sure that it's not lost
role,
in translation.
Know in the office. Well, in the office where I will have so and so in the boardroom making decision. As for me, I'm a tea girl somewhere making tea to serve this guy. And you see all the decisions are being made there. So that deliberate effort, like what ACWIC is doing, is what is missing totally.
Okay.
Yes.
Allow me state, Thomas, about the deliberate action. You see, as ACWIC, you would have chosen to say, fine, we have trained 50 girls in Kisumu, but you find that you do it for the sake of the numbers and not for the quality of what was coming out. But I want to appreciate ACWIC because our classes were intense. What I learned in those classes actually shaped who I am today. Because the trainers would take us through the program and they would make it a point to ensure that we have understood it and we can actually go out there in the job market and apply what we've learned. Yes.
Okay. So the thing I wanted to ask both of you, mentorship. How important do you see that that particular part of the process moving forward, especially within the space of tourism? You've talked about different forums where this is discussed. So are you seeing a deliberate effort from some of the more successful women to kind of mentor young people to go into that particular space? Or again, is it something that needs to be revisited and even revamped? Because that's something that I think Lucy, being a mentorship lead, has a lot of experience in that. And I think why I love working with her more than anything is that she continuously evolves the mentee needs to the point where we are always ahead of the curve in terms of what women and girls need to be able to elevate towards a space of employment and entrepreneurial opportunity. So are you seeing the same within your tourism space? And if not, what needs to happen maybe to try and connect these different groups?
I feel there is a lot of deficit when it comes to mentorship. And if we do not need to see women who are in senior managerial positions just in the televisions. We need to see them coming to the villages down there, coming to our clan area, talking to these girls, telling these girls, you know what? I actually started from such and such a point. And I think that's why I am also here, because I would like to tell this story so that some girl out there can actually see. And allow me to state that the program was free of charge. You know, there's a way. There is a way people take these free things. Yeah. I walked into the sub-county office one day. I went for a totally different thing. Then I came across a poster on their wall that was stating free digital skills training. And there's a way we just do not trust these free things. But I applied for it at that point and I got to learn a lot. So I feel like even for mentorship, there is a lot that still needs to be done. We need to have an open mind. We need to go out there and remove the stereotype kind of thinking that already is in the society, so that these girls can actually believe that if somebody can start at this point and get to this level, it's something that they too can be able to do.
And you brought in a very important aspect, and that's relatability. And from the point of view of just making sure that these people go to those informal settlements, rural areas, which, let's face it, it's where we are all from. I don't think we were all born in Nairobi. My colleague usually says that this is a servant's quarter. And so once you are done working, we will all go back to our different homes. So just how impactful do you think that can be in regards to bringing some of the women and girls from those informal settlements? Because again, my thinking has always been, if we can all move into these spaces where we grow up and basically have that discussion, create time to talk to these people individually or as groups, I really feel that can be able to play a big role.
Thomas, maybe just to say something in regards to that. And I like pointing more to what ACWEC does. Sorry, no offense.
No, I get it.
But you see, for ACWEC, like, for example, what I'll say, first of all, in regard to your question, there is still much to be done. Just need to copy some ways or even relate to now how ACWEC does it. First of all, Victoria just acknowledged that there was a trainer. Her trainer was a woman, the first person she saw when walking to that center.
Was this you by chance? Was this I'm suspecting it was you.
You're suspecting.
Was it Lucy?
It was Lucy.
It was me.
Yeah.
Let me just come out. It was me. So, you see, first of all, just her meeting the lady already changed her perspective. Knowing that, it's something that can be done by a lady, right? You know that mentorship starts from there. Mentorship does not necessarily mean that after. It starts from the in-class. And that can only happen when we seal the gap I was talking about, where we are giving young women and young men an equal opportunity and be deliberate on what we do, so that also young women take up on these courses to mentor, handhold. When I was mentoring Victoria, I was not necessarily in Nairobi. I'm back there in Kisumu. And what ACWEC does is, when we build our database of mentors, we pick from different, we have a nationwide reach, right? We pick from different areas because we are aware of the grassroots. Our programs, most of them do target marginalized women and youth, people from disadvantaged background, all together. So what we do, we like the peer mentorship. We also encourage that, so that we take a group also that the trainees or participant can relate to easily. It's easier to relate with someone who is telling you, Victoria, I was there. At some point I was there. This is the journey I walked. So I'm hand-holding you so that you also take up on this and know how to use these skills and improvise. So it starts from that grassroots, and that is what ACWEC is doing. We don't necessarily take our programs to a specific town and we cling there. We open up to different rural sector. That is why we are in Pokot. We are far as Pokot and we are in Turkana, right? Even the areas you would not imagine that maybe IT is the talk of the day there. But we try. So once we are there again, we use the local community that is there, right? We use the local community there who will mentor these young girls there? They can speak to the problems that are there. We don't want to bring maybe a Lucy from Nairobi who is walking down to Turkana and saying, hey, you see, we need to do this kind of a thing. We will pick somebody from that Turkana who will relate to the problem, the socio-economic and all the, you see, that environment. So hand-holding, very important. We are not there as a, maybe as a country,
society,
as a society, but we are slowly making footsteps to that. And if we could just emulate what these private, if the government and both the government and private sector would hold hands so that we move in a simultaneous way, then I think we are headed somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, that's what I wanted us to address going into the next question. But just to make sure that we highlight some of the key issues that we've talked about. We've highlighted the fact that we need to have a more open policy, open door policy, that allows women to be able to sit at those decision-making tables, for lack of any better word. We've talked about awareness creation as well. The importance of making sure that we have some of these professionals go to the ground and specifically speak to their journey. In most cases, that's usually enough. What else have we talked about? We've highlighted the fact that on our end, skilling is a very important objective, and it's not skilling alone, but mentorship. Yeah, so that's quite a bit. Okay. So do you think that there's a role that the national government, private and development sector can be able to play in helping us sort out some of the key issues that we've brought out?
Thank you for your question. Now, I believe that advocacy would actually work if we had policies, if all these players came up with policies that would actually remove this discussion from the boardrooms to the actual implementation part of it, then it would dismantle these narratives that we've always had and have a practical approach to the matter. Yes.
And maybe just to build on what Victoria is talking about, she's talked about policy. We're talking about policies and legal frameworks that the government can put together to entrench the gender inequality, this a whole big sickness that we are talking about during this season. And maybe I can just span to what the government is doing right now. So we have seen ICT authority bringing in key players, like for example now AQUICT, what AQUICT is doing in terms of skilling, coming up with a curriculum that is friendly to different sectors, be it people in the small businesses, medium, small business owners, that person who is down there as a farmer, across the value chain, up to the person who is now facing the market, all those brought together. So you see this digital skilling that the government is doing. It's a deliberate and a great effort that is going to try and empower. And maybe just to maybe bring in policies and framework, if they can deliberately have that effort of bringing more young women into to the project in some areas where maybe the uptake when it comes to digital skilling uptake amongst young women, if there are efforts that can be leveraged on so that such like also join the program. You know, once you are enlightened, you not even getting that information in the first place, it will mean that you won't even know your rights, which is a lot more contributing to the gender-based violence that we are seeing out here. Because as Aduet enlightened earlier, it's not just about the violence that is physical. It's emotional, it's mental, it's all that. So even just women being locked out of this boardroom is torturing and so emotional. So it's just something to do with that skilling that is happening, the digital literacy program that is going on, and the government bringing in both private sectors in the development space is very important. And I'm happy that AQUICT has really taken that positively. And I'm so certain, I'm so sure that is going to yield fruits out of it.
And also, Thomas,
Yeah.
I also believe that this effort requires both the private sector and public sector to come in for it to be achieved. Because you see, it's the government who gets to the grassroots level. Yeah. The private sector can have the intention to actually create a change, but at the grassroots level, it is the government that has roots down there. So for us to achieve all this, we need both players to come into the picture and come up with a favorable solution. Yes.
Yeah, because just to play devil's advocate, if I can be allowed, I think there's a lot of talk around advocacy and what we ought to be doing. But the thing that I always ask myself is that, do we have the structures in place? In the beginning, we've seen how the fight for 2/3 went, and I felt if that was voted in favor, then that would be a good kind of foundation to start and build on some of the things that we want to see. Because again, we've talked so many times about the fact that when we highlight the need for women to be more involved, it doesn't mean that you're minimizing men's opportunities. It just means that you are leveling the play field. And so I don't know, when you talk of advocacy, Victoria, do you think we have the structures in place to be able to work with our local leaders, as well as bring in the private and development sector to be able to start advocating for a more inclusive society? Or do we need to build that first and then now go into a space where we start looking at that more critically?
Okay. When you look at even the 2/3 rule, we did not have a given structure in place. As of that time, it was in the concept period. But we looked at what we stand to gain. We looked at the end of the road, and we put in place the necessary framework that was needed to actually actualize this. So I actually believe that if we look at what we intend to do, because just as we stated earlier, the society is integrating into the digital field. So we have no other option. So the best way of approaching this is that if the framework is not there, it needs to be created. And if there is one, it needs to be strengthened so that it can be able to address this particular matter, because it is a ticking time bomb. Yes.
Okay. And what role do you think research needs to play in some of these solutions you've provided? We've talked about digital skilling programs. Are you confident enough that those skills specifically speak to what women and youth need at this particular point in time? Or do you see maybe research as being something that needs to be integrated very, very quickly? Because again,
yes, Thomas, some research need to be included to try and curb that. But also, I'm so happy that the government opened it up to the private sectors and other key players.
Space,
So the development space, much more come from them. And they opened it from, leave alone just even getting the youths coming up with the, with the learning materials or curricula or all that would address. So to some efforts, I think it's something that has been well done from the concept up to where it is and where it's headed to, because majority of that, as Victoria has said, it's the government that will reach to the people. But when it comes to the scaling, this grassroots organization, we've seen small CBOs who are directly to the people on the ground. They know what is lacking. They know what the gaps are. In the development sector, let's not forget, these are the people. The government can't employ everyone, so it means they are the people to also absorb these people as they come out. So they know in terms of what skill is missing, what is the market requiring. So bringing them on board tries to strengthen that in terms of the right skill set that is required. So I'm so happy that it's holistic, that coming together from the initial stages up to now where the agenda is.
Okay. So I'll not put you in the spot on investments in infrastructure and technology. I'll not put you in the spot on that. Maybe as we conclude this, You guys have shared a lot. There's a lot of insight and knowledge that's been shared in the same. And again, I'm very, very thankful for you guys creating time to be able to come and educate us on what are some of the things we can be able to do differently. So, and now speaking to women who might be listening to this in the next few days or so, what message would you like to leave to them as we go through these 16 days of activism against GBV, and as we also look to the bigger picture in terms of how it is we can be able to involve them in some of the key discussions we've had?
I'd want to tell the young girls out there that you should embrace your passion and potential, because you see the digital space is, the digital landscape is ever evolving, and you know your presence there will bring about inclusivity and divert us from the diversity aspect of it. So your presence would bring a lot of inclusivity in all this. So you should embrace it, be part of it. You can do it, as former president of the US, President Barack Obama said, yes, you can. Thank you.
So Thomas, just to speak on that, the government has offered this program, the digital skilling. It's already an effort. It's already an effort towards leveling the ground, because there is nowhere I've seen an advert saying that it's specific to a certain gender group. I'm also talking to the young women and women out there. Remember, it's also upon us to take these positions. It's upon us to take this digital skilling program that is ongoing. Like I normally say, it's a joke that I normally make to my peers, especially the people I mentor within the field, that don't wait for the table to be prepared for you. Sometimes just pull the chair and join everyone else in that table. So just to say, let's not be down there crying for favors to get, maybe to be relevant. Let's also be proactive. There are organizations out there that are doing this. We are just joining the organization, the bigger agenda, like now what ACWICT is doing to contribute to the bigger agenda. ACWICT has so many scaling programs that are ongoing. You can see Victoria is also here. She is an alumni. She was a beneficiary. Look at where she is. And ACWICT is still going on with the similar programs and trying to encourage young women and to join the space. So Thomas, my strong message out there for us to be to try and curb that big thing in the room of trying to fight for equal opportunities. Women also need to be proactive, because the government is investing already. Organizations like ACWICT are investing in the processes. Imagine being trained and mentored and going to a space where we are trying to fend for these young women in terms of opportunities, internships, and job positions. So it only makes sense when we are proactive and getting into it and grabbing these opportunities. Yeah, that is my message out there.
Okay. So thank you very much. And I think for me, again, we've already talked about this before, but I'm very, very thankful. We have learned quite a bit. And I think my call to action, if you'll allow me, will be just to encourage more conversations around this to take place. We always come from the belief that, nobody can be able to explain their plight more than themselves. It has to come from the people who this is impacting more than anything. So we've learned quite a bit. I'm sure the guys in the studio as well have been able to, consume this information, knowledge, and insight that you guys have been able to share. And I think from what I'm gathering is that we have to do better as a collective, as a society, and hopefully we can be able to do this podcast next year and boast of some little progress that's been made. Because as I'm sure you are aware, that's how Constantine, who's the CEO of ACWICT, started. She started with a very small group of people, and that's how she's been able to oversee an organization that at this point has trained around 350,000 young people since 2007. So thank you very much, Lucy and Victoria. It's been a very informative and knowledgeable session. I'm sure all of us have learned here quite a bit about what we need to do or what we can be able to do as a society to ensure that we, in our small but very impactful way, and GBV, at least by 2030. We've talked about a lot of stuff that I think is very self-reflective. And I'm thinking that, maybe in the coming years or so, if we can all commit to a few things here and there that we can be able to do individually and even collectively as part of the ACWIC Alumni and Alumni and Beneficiary Association, then I think that we can be able to do quite a lot in the years to come. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening. It's been a wonderful episode, and I'm hoping you guys can be able to enjoy it as well. And if you're interested in listening to more, it's very, very simple. Just go to YouTube and search for ACWIC Lead Series, and also follow us on our social media platforms at ACWIC and every single one of them. And have a good time, and hope we meet next time.